Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the Flip the Script podcast. Man, I'm excited about a new year and getting to launch into 2022 and really think about having a whole year where our thinking lines up the way it's supposed to line up and we're going the right direction. I'm pumped today because I thought that the best person to start the new year off on the podcast with me would certainly be my amazing wife and the one who I believe is better at flipping the script than anyone I know. And so we're just excited to be here. We're a couple days into the new year. How's your thinking going at the start of the new year?
Pretty good so far. We've had some definite challenges to overcome as we start the new year. Routines that have been disrupted and things that haven't gone exactly as we planned or as we hoped they would. And so lots of opportunity to practice flipping the script. You
know, what's so great about today, even as you're listening, that I hope will be more encouragement, even as we're going to talk about habits and some things today, is that as Megan kind of referenced, 2022, we had intended to record this podcast weeks ago, but due to COVID and is there anything else, or it's just been COVID in my mind right now? I just feel like everything has kind of been a whirlwind. Life has not gone as we thought it would go the first 2 weeks of 2022, or the last 2 weeks, first week of 2022. And so part of that just makes me think, this is even more important. And I hope you'll know we're coming from a place today that isn't, hey, everything's perfect and rainbows in our life, so listen to this, but we're practicing what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to be encouraged. I hope you're going to be encouraged. So before we get to that, we've been doing this fun stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to our host, Brandon. Take it away.
Hey, well, what's up, everybody? We are finally here. This is episode number 3. The new year is here, and we're talking about habits. And maybe you're listening today because you are developing a habit of listening to podcasts regularly so you can learn and grow. If so, that is awesome. If you are new to the podcast, as Michael just said, we'd love to have some fun at the start of each episode. So today, we're going to play a game called Flip the Script. This is the Flip the Script podcast after all. So I'm going to read you a negative statement, and I want you to tell us how you would flip that into a positive statement. All right. So the first one is, I can't do it.
I can do anything. Your turn.
Me too. I'm going to learn something amazing through this.
Love it.
That's great. Number 2, I'm not motivated.
That one feels way harder. So I would flip I'm not motivated to say motivation's not a feeling. I got this.
That's good. You're right. This one is a harder one. If I feel like I'm not motivated, I'm going to get motivated.
Love it. I'm going to get motivated.
That's great. Number 3, this is too hard.
I was made to do hard things.
I can do hard things was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's so great. Number 4, they are better than me.
Well, that's just not true. I think they are better than me. We're trying to flip this quick. So I do think that. I would probably say to compare leads to despair.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'd say.
Yeah. I would probably just, instead of comparing it to myself, I would just say, look how great they are. Like just a celebration of someone else instead of a comparison to myself.
That's so good.
That's so great. Number 5, I don't know how.
I'm going to figure out how.
Somebody else could do this. Or I'm going to figure out how. It could go either way.
All right. Last one. I'm not good at this.
I'm going to learn how to do this.
What's so interesting about our personalities, and I know this already, but you love to like learn how to do anything. Whereas I more like to stay kind of in sort of a lane where I feel focused.
Right. I think you would flip, I'm not good at this too. I'm going to find someone else who is good at this and have them do it.
Yeah, that's totally what I would do. Whereas you're like, I'll learn how to do, like, I don't want to put furniture together. You love to figure out how to put something together. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to find somebody who's good at this. So I think if I
don't know if it's right or wrong.
I think that if I felt
that
the negative side of I'm not good at this, I would just try to say that I'm not meant to be good at everything. Likewise,
that's
I'm
true.
going to learn
True.
something. So, yeah, I know this was a fun game, but I think that's just really helpful.
Well, good. Well, that was the point, is to help us, cut out some of those excuses as we start the new year, talking about habits. And so we're going to get into today's discussion, talking about habits, how we can make this the best year ever. So, Michael, take it away.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things that Megan and I have been talking about, and really over the course of the last couple of years has been important for me personally, for us, for our church, and for those we lead, is thinking about the difference between habits and goals. And we start this new year. I recently read that 90%, think about this, 90% of people who have a goal to work out will be done working out by March. So 90%. And I think it's because we believed a lie for a lot of years that the answer is goals, but goals really are all about like outcome and output, but habits are input. Habits are what we actually can control. And so what we want to kind of talk about a little bit, and we're just going to go through this together. And Megan, as you have so much wisdom to offer on this as well, let's talk a little bit about the difference between habits and goals, and why we want to be a people who don't live so much goal focused, but we live more habit focused.
Yeah. I think goals are just wishes if they don't have habits supporting them.
Yeah.
Right. So I can say, I want to run a marathon. I want to write a book. Like, these are my goals. I can say those things, and that's great. But if I don't have habits to support those goals, I will never achieve those goals. And so I think the habits are the inputs that lead us to the goals. The habits are, I think, more important than the goals, because a goal, once you achieve it, it's done, it's over. A habit changes who you are, and it changes, who we're becoming. And so I think you have to have habits to support any kind of goal.
I think if you're a Christian today listening or watching this, what I just thought of is we need to pray into our habits. So I think sometimes we pray big prayers, which we should do. Like, we should pray big goals. I pray that the Lord would work miracles and do things that I couldn't do. I think I should also pray it's important that we pray into our habits, meaning I'm asking him to help me get up every morning. I'm asking him to help me, be writing at 5 a.m., to help me get to the gym 5 days a week, or whatever that habit would be. So don't just pray the goal, pray the habit. And that brings God into the detail, not just keeping him out in the big obscure space where we want a miracle.
Right. And often we feel defeated when we don't achieve our goals. But if we don't have plans to achieve those goals, the how am I going to do this? When am I going to do this? And the why. I think why is this my goal is a really important question to ask yourself. If it's, there's a lot of reasons we set a certain goal. And if we don't have a really strong why that is going to drive us every single day, then we're not going to fulfill the habits that lead us to our goals.
Right. So good. So I've been thinking a lot about habits this year for me. And as we look at this year, I've thought about how do I have several different habits? And I've kind of been processing it through kind of the whole aspect of who I am, and how do I get a habit in each area. So I've been thinking about having a thinking habit, and a nutrition habit, a spiritual habit, an emotional habit, a relational habit. And I think what I would really encourage everyone today is you look at the year and whatever thoughts or goals you've had going in, have a habit that would support each of those components that make up your wholeness. For instance, I have a nutrition habit to eat an eating plan, but that means every day I'm going to have a habit of planning my food. Now, I'm in the midst of a 10-day liquid-only fast right now, so that's just terrible. And I love fasting because I believe that I experience more of God during this time. But if I have a habit of planning my nutrition, then what ends up happening is I know I'm going to be on the right path to be a healthy person. So I have a habit of getting up at 5 a.m. in order to reach my spiritual habit of prayer. I have a prayer liturgy I do every day, and reading through the Bible in a year. So I think I would encourage everybody, have a habit for each component of your life.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's similar to, how I would explain that is as I thought about this year and I thought about habits and goals and things, I thought mostly about who I want to be, like what kind of person I want to be, not necessarily things that I want to achieve. So, I want to be a healthy person. So that means I am going to have specific habits of how I eat, when I exercise, and having those exercise goals. Like, I've had exercise goals in the past, but unless you say where you're going to exercise, when you're going to exercise, and remember why you're going to exercise or whatever it is, those things just fall off.
Right.
Because I've had goals of like, I'm going to run 3 times a week. Well, I didn't plan when I'm going to run. I didn't plan, where I'm going to run or anything like that. So I have specific plans for my habits this year, the same as getting up early. I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. that means I also have to plan that I'm going to go to bed early. I
Right.
don't plan to stay up late. I have to be intentional to support the habits that I want to have for the person I want to become. I want to be a spiritually healthy person. I want to
Right.
grow. And so
Right.
I have a habit, like one of the habits this year is like, I'm going to read at least 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. I don't have a goal of a number of books I want to read. I've had that in the past. I'm going to read 50 books this year or whatever my goal was. But like, if you don't have a habit of reading every day, you're never going to reach that
That's
goal.
so good.
So my goal or my habit this year is to read 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. And I know that as a result of that habit, I will grow in wisdom and I will grow as a person
So
into the
good.
kind of person that I want to be. So, my habits that I'm considering this year have to do with what kind of friend do I want to be? What kind of parent do I want to be? What kind of spouse do I want to be? What kind of disciple do I want to be?
Right.
And then what habits support me being those things
I've
and
been
growing in that way.
I think one of the ways we end up getting off track in our habits, even as what you're talking about, and what I feel like for us, we've experienced this, is that the whole concept. And Mark Batterson wrote a book called "Win the Day," and then he recently came out with a book I think called "Do It for a Day."
I think so, yeah.
But what I've been thinking about is we talk about, can you do it for today?
Mm-hmm.
But what I realize steals our success is we'll say this instead. We'll say it's okay not to do it today. And so what ends up happening is we give ourselves an excuse to just go, well, today I'm not going to get up.
Right.
I'm still going to get up tomorrow, but today I just decided I'm not going to get up. Today I'm not going to eat healthy. And what ends up happening, and this isn't for perfection, let me be real clear, like I'm not going to be perfect and I already know that. But when that thought comes into my mind at 5 a.m. that says, just turn over and go back to sleep, it's okay to just do it for today. One of the ways I'm flipping the script is to go, no, just for today, it's okay to get up right now, even though I'm tired.
Yeah.
When that thought comes in that goes, hey, just for today, it's okay to make an unhealthy eating choice, I'm going, hey, no, just for today, I'm going to go ahead and follow through and eat healthy. Just for today, I don't need to read my Bible. No, today, I'm going to go ahead and follow through with it. And we're only a few days into the new year, but I've recognized that if I catch that lie in my mind early, it's what's helping. And if I flip, it makes a difference.
Absolutely. I think the Atomic Habits author, I can't remember the name of the author.
James Clear
said that this is the compound interest of self-improvement. It's where, we think these big moments matter so much, but we forget that the little small moments over time are actually what is significant to our life. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. We understand compound interest financially, that it's just a little bit each day or a little bit each month,
Right.
but over time it has significant value. Whereas that getting up every day, if I miss one day, it's not that big of a deal. If I don't go to the gym today, it's not that big of a deal. But if I do go to the gym today and I do go to the gym tomorrow, over time, there's compound interest in my self-improvement by doing those small things consistently.
Think about this. Jesus said, to whom much is given, much is required. And we can read that verse and think about, many of you are Christians, so we want to do what Jesus said. So he says that we can look at ourselves and be like, okay, I want to do great things with what God has given me, but I'm only going to do great things with what God has given me if I have small habits to support becoming who he called me to become. And that overwhelming feeling sometimes of, I want to be the best pastor, and I want to be the best leader, and I want to be the best husband. I want to be the best, right? I want to be the best at everything because it's my personality. But none of that matters if I don't have small habits.
Absolutely.
And the difference, kind of if we talk about good habits and bad habits for a moment, let's dive into that a little bit. I love what you wrote in some of our notes we were talking about. And so jump off this here in just a moment if you could. But what I recognize is that bad habits happen unintentionally. Good habits happen intentionally. All of us today have habits. And that's the thing that I think we sometimes forget.
Yeah.
So everybody listening and watching today, you have tons of habits in your life. And if you don't know what your habits are, don't be insulted. I would just say there's a good chance they're more bad habits than good habits.
Yeah. Because
typically we know what our good habits are because we intentionally put them in place. Our bad habits, we don't know as well as that goes. So how do you kind of work, Megan, that bad habit, good habit, intentional, unintentional process?
I absolutely agree that our bad habits are mostly unintentional. We don't realize that we're doing them. And so one of the the greatest ways to beginning a process is being aware, is paying attention to what you do, paying attention to yourself. What do you do when you have 5 minutes? What do you do when you're waiting for an appointment? What do you do when, like there's so many things that we don't even realize that we do that can be a bad habit.
Right.
And so I think to have good habits, we have to intentionally put those things in motion, just like what I was talking about, like having to go to bed earlier so that I can get up earlier.
Right.
Well, so I actually set an alarm on my phone that goes off that says, hey, bedtime is in 30 minutes. And then at 10 o'clock, my phone shuts down.
Right.
I don't get any more notifications to support the habit that I want to have of getting up early. Because if I'm not intentional about that, I'll just stay up doing mindless things that don't support the habits or the kind of person that I want to become. And so, I think there's habits that we want to develop, but we have to take time to recognize that there's things to move out of our life so that we can make room for the things that we
break
want.
bad habits.
We do. We have to break the bad habits, and that can be really, really hard. It takes intention as well to break a bad habit.
I think what I would want us to be encouraged with at the start of the year is maybe this is because we've been in a pandemic for 2 years and it's only exacerbated the thought that good enough is good enough. And it's exacerbated. I think is exacerbated the right word? I think that so. Is. Yeah. I like to use big words, but mainly only if I know what they mean. But it's allowed us to live more in mediocrity and to simply say it's okay because of everything that's going on in the world. And I would just, again, draw us back to the conviction I feel, to whom much is given, much is required. Mm-hmm. And so as I look at this year in front of me, I know that it's easy for me to just distract myself and to waste time, and that would be acceptable and I could still achieve a lot of great things. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't become who God made me to become.
Absolutely. And I think that's what drives wanting to have good habits and wanting to be who God created me to be. Like, I'm not here just to get through. And yes, there's grace for bad days, and there's grace for giving yourself a break and not being hard on yourself or feeling defeated when you're not achieving your goals or meeting your habits every day. It's not a legalistic kind of thing, but it is a thing where I want to be intentional with the one life that God has given me.
Yes.
I want to be intentional with the 24 hours a day that I have to do good things with them. One of the habits that I've thought a lot about this year is the kind of conversations I want to have with other people. I want to have conversations that draw people closer to Jesus, that cause people to think, that cause me to think, that make me, grow, I guess, my mindset and cause others to grow. And so in order to have those kinds of conversations, I'm intentionally reading different kinds of books that will produce those kinds of thoughts in me, because, if we don't fill ourselves with good things, the things that come out won't be good things either.
That's right.
So I think, knowing that our life matters, knowing that we've been given a significant task, should compel us to want to be good stewards of what God has
so good.
us.
And it doesn't matter if you are, it doesn't matter if you work in the home, if you work outside the home. It doesn't matter if you have a job, don't have a job. It doesn't matter if you're a student. It doesn't matter if you're retired. Like, all of us are in this same space. It's January, the start of a new year. And we have this opportunity right in front of us that when December hits in 12 months, we can look back over this year and go, wow, I put some habits into my life that really did make a difference. And I know I'm on the right track in being who I'm called to be. And I think for me, that's what I desire, because we'll repeat this plenty, but 2020 and 2021 were just years that if I could pick, I would not have had the things happen in them. And so we can look at this year and everybody go, man, 2022 it's just going to be so much better than 2020 and 2021, and all the things in the world are going to go so much better. But the truth is, things may go way worse in 2022 in the world, and things around me may go way worse. Like, I don't know. But what I can control is my habits. Yeah. And I mentioned this a little earlier. I want to throw this out just to get real specific for some of you. So some habits that I have, and to help you, 6 of them that I wrote down for today just to help with. So I have a spiritual habit, and that means I would encourage you to everybody have a spiritual habit. For me, that looks like every single day, this is my prayer, this is my Bible reading, but I have a habit of when I'm going to do it and what it's going to look like. I have
that when I do it is so important. And I talk to people all the time especially right now, they're like, I'm going to read the Bible in a year. And my first question is, when are you going to read each day? Because if you don't know when you're going to do it, it's not going to fit in with all the other things. You have to make a plan for when.
So good. I have an emotional health habit. And so one of the ways that I have a habit to be emotionally healthy is I see my counselor. And so I see my counselor either once or twice a month. It's a habit. I'm going to do other things also, but this is the one habit I'm going to have that I know will help me be emotionally healthy in 2022. A lot of people say, I'm going to get healthier. I'm going to get emotionally healthy. And in 2022, I'm going to read a book on emotional health and I'm going to see a counselor. And they press period, right? And then it's June. And I'm like, hey, have you talked to a counselor? And they're like, no, I need to get around to doing that. So that you just said, get it on the calendar. This is when it's going to happen. A physical habit. So I have a physical habit. And for me, what that looks like is I'm going to the gym. I work out at Orange Theory. I'm going to go 4 times a week. I have to schedule it. They charge me $12 if I don't show up. So
it's helpful.
It's helpful. What's your physical habit plan for this year?
It's Orange Theory twice a week, yoga once a week.
It's great. So have a physical plan. Nutrition habit. So I have a nutrition habit. And we kind of mentioned this, but the habit is following an eating plan. I don't think it matters. Well, it does kind of matter what your eating plan is, but we all should have some sort of nutrition eating plan. So we have a habit of planning and a habit of eating what is actually good for our body. The scriptures say that we are the temple of the Lord. And so we want to take care of our bodies. Now, one of the things that I have a habit of that I want to get better at in 2022 is a relational or a relationship habit. And for me, what that looks like is making sure every single week I strengthen some of my closest relationships. And so I already connect with a couple of my close friends every week. And so for my habit, I want to make sure I follow through on that more regularly in having that relationship or relational habit, because a lot of us want to have great friendships and great relationships, but then we don't institute habits to build those.
That's good.
And so I would encourage all of us, get a relational habit, a relationship habit with your spouse, with your kids, with friends to make sure that happens. And then I would encourage everybody this year to have an accountability habit. And this is something that even as I share this with you, I'm working out exactly how this is going to work in my life. But who is that person that you have a habit of being brutally honest with? So whether it's once a week or once a month, we're going to sit together and be completely honest about what's going on in my life, about where I'm missing it, about where I'm getting it right. And so you want to make sure you have an accountability habit. What that does is that puts a framework or a structure around our life and about what we want to do this year, about what we feel God is calling us to do this year, so that we would not look back in December and go, you know what, I did good on one habit, but I missed so many others. So I think it's so important that we build those habits in.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I think another thought about habits and creating new habits that is really helpful is habit stacking.
Yes.
Like where you take something that you want to become a daily habit in your life and you pair it with something that you already do automatically so that you will always do it. You know, we actually have a lot of unhealthy habits that are that it's like,
don't talk about our unhealthy habits. We're supposed to have all this together.
My kids go to bed, I make a bowl of ice cream. You know, like there are certain things that we just automatically stack together. And so this is a really useful tool.
Hang on, let's double back on that.
What?
I don't make a bowl of ice cream once we put the kids
It was
to
an
bed.
example.
Okay.
It was just an example.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
But some people have a habit of like, get in bed, pick up the phone, or wake up, pick up your phone,
right.
Flip open social media. I had a couple years ago, I challenged myself to remove Instagram off of the front screen of my phone just to make it a less quick thing to go to. And I found myself for several days, I would open my phone and click the app that was now in its place. That was like an app I don't even use because I had this automatic habit of just opening my phone and clicking on Instagram. And so I think there's things we don't even realize that we have automatic habits of. But anyway, stacking habits is where you if you want to wash your face every day, start stacking that with something you already do. If you already brush your teeth first thing in the morning, then immediately wash your face right after that. I think one of the habits that I see that you stack is that you meet with 2 other guys, your core, every week after the prayer meeting.
Right.
You're all going to be at the prayer meeting, so you're going to meet right afterwards. Like this is something we're already doing. And so we're going to stack those two things together to make sure that we keep these things a priority in our life.
Right. Habit stacking is so important.
So helpful.
I listen to podcasts when I run. So for me, I want a habit of listening to audiobooks or leadership podcasts so that I would grow in my leadership. And I know that I only listen to that when I run. So it's like I get rewarded for running. Running's a good habit for my emotional health, but I also know that it's going to help me grow intellectually. And so I stack those together in that way. So many ways I would agree. Stack habits will really help your year a ton.
Absolutely.
Anything else that you want to add today?
I think just kind of going back to what I started with, I think when you think about the habits that you want to have this year, or the goals that you want to have, think less about things that you want to accomplish and more about what kind of person do I want to be?
Yeah, that's so good. I want to encourage you because I feel I would miss if I didn't hit this. But I think knowing you roll into this new year, knowing everybody's we roll into this new year, a habit of gathering with your church family. So a habit of being in church every single weekend is so important for your year. A habit of reading your Bible daily, a habit of prayer every single day, so important. And everything we're talking about with habits, they really do matter and they really do work. Certainly your relationship with Jesus is the greatest priority for any of us. And so our number one habit has to be, how am I growing in this relationship? Because we could get all the success in the world. There's a scripture where it says, what good does it gain the whole world if you lose your soul? And so we could have 2022. Everybody could tell us that our bodies look great. You know, we've got the abs. Everybody could tell us we're so smart and we wrote all these books or we did all these great things. But if our habits didn't produce a more intimate and close relationship with Jesus, it will be a miss. And so I just encourage everybody, as we build habits this year, we know we've got the strong spiritual ones in place. And then finally, the last thing I want to encourage us with is 2 words. And it's 2 words that have been part of my, I was going to say goal, but just part of my words for every year is this: follow through. Follow through. If you messed up on Tuesday, follow through on Wednesday. If January, man, it just sucked. Here comes February.
Absolutely.
Follow through. We're in the midst of this fast, and follow through is all I keep thinking about halfway through a fast. If you mess up, follow through. Like, don't quit. Follow through. Don't quit on 2022, becoming who you're called to be. Follow through on the habits. Plug in your church community. Plug in your small groups. There's people who want to be there with you. And let's keep flipping the script. The enemy's going to try to tell us we're failing. There's going to be lies coming into our mind of fear from the news and from social media. And we're going to flip it every single time, because I'm a believer in Jesus. And my Bible says I walk by faith and not by sight. And that's how I know I can live out these habits and really make a difference in my life and the lives of those around me. And I think the same for you too this year.
We hope this was an encouragement to you and helps put you on the path to having your best year ever. And we would appreciate if you would share this out, tell your family and friends about this podcast. The reason we do this is to help people not settle in life and point them towards a better way to think and live. If you haven't already, we would love it if you would subscribe on whatever platform you're on right now. You'll get notified as soon as a new episode drops. We have more great content planned this year, and we will release a new episode at least once a month. You can also email questions and inquiries at info@flipthescriptlife.com. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.